get to explain the roots of where their life went wrong. You feel what I'm saying? Whether it be their parents was on drugs or they was in the streets raising themselves as kids. Like,
you didn't win unless you made a transition from that into something positive. Because so if you want to talking about you won and you still in the streets, you a loser. You ain't win unless you took that and you took all that pain and strife and that and all the trials and tribulations you've been through. You took that and you turned it into something positive. Then you won. That's the victory right there. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I was telling my.
This call is from a federal prison.
Anytime.
If a law loves hard thugs, wise kids all scarred up, tricked in them bars stuck. Why the hard luck? Why the funerals? Elevated urinals, pray they don't mural you. Is the surahs true? Is the Christ coming? I just had to write something. Tell me what it's like, cousin.
As above, so below.
Peace, Fard.
As above,
peace, Elijah.
So below.
Peace, Kyle.
Hey yo, LAZ man, hit me up at the genpopllc@gmail.com or send me a DM at Real Saint Laz if you want to collab or if you need that music promo. You heard? If you a producer and you making them fire beats, get at me.
bro, so you said you was locked up in the same jail with the legendary Cool C and Steady B?
Both niggas. Both them niggas, man. 1997. Like, let me see. The spring of 97. Yep. Spring of 1997.
So you, both of them was on death row?
Nah. Cool C was on death row. Steady B was in general population. We was in this jail called Camp Hill. I spoke about this jail before, I think, on the internet. But anyway, it's the clinic. It's the clinic in Pennsylvania State Prisons. You know the clinic when you first come through and shit. You go through all your TB tests and you got to take all them tests and shit before they send you to your jail.
Yeah, like reception.
Yeah, that's what it is, reception. Boom, we was down there, 97, and only reason I seen Cool C was because I had a medical issue, an ongoing medical issue. I was going up to the infirmary every day, but Steady B, I seen him regularly, and I seen the ridicule he dealt with and everything. Real talk. He was a high-profile snitch. Everybody knew about their case. The prisons in Pennsylvania was probably 80% Philadelphia. So anything you did over there, everybody knew about it and shit. And you know that wasn't just Philadelphia news; it was world news because they was famous rappers.
So what they say that he told on Cool C?
Ain't no they say. It's well known. It's well known. It was three of them. It was Steady B, Cool C, and a dude named Mark Canty, I think was his name. But yeah, they took he did the telling. They caught Steady and shit. They caught Steady. They didn't catch them other dudes until like later and shit. You know, Cool C banged out, so he was able to get away briefly and shit.
And he was the only one that threw shots at that officer. He
killed her. Yeah, a body shot to her chest. She was wearing a vest that day, but she didn't have the plates inside, and she wasn't wearing the inserts or whatever and shit. So, you know, when he hit her, opened her up, and she was the first female police officer killed in Philadelphia history. She's black too. True story. But yeah, Steady had a very, very hard time in prison, bro. Very hard time. Wherever he went, there was a scene and shit, like, you know, people pointing. You know, Philly niggas, they brash, man. Like, whereas, you know, some people might be whispering, you know, you a rat and shit like that. They got dudes that'll just say it in your face and shit, like, snitch ass nigga. Like, the case was very popular. It was them dudes, the Hilltop Hustlers. They was from West Philly and shit. They was street niggas and shit. Like, they was known. They went like further and, you know, further than Cool C and Steady B. Like, it's a story behind it and shit. So, you know, the people that he kind of like told on was legendary. Even though he was with them, you know, he's with them. He told on his people. Told on shit. A Philadelphia rap legend who was in a group with him, counting Endless Bank. They was in a group together at the time. Crazy.
And you said PA ain't really execute nobody in a long time?
Nah, there ain't been no executions in Pennsylvania in a long time. When it first happened, and you know, people seen it, that they really was gonna kill him, like that was like shocking to see that a rapper that you seen on TV, that you vibe to his music, like damn, they gonna really kill him and shit. Like Tookie Williams and shit, it just never happened. They got some type of, I forget the name, you know, they just ceased. They just ceased the death penalty in Pennsylvania for various reasons. I think because of Pennsylvania got a fucked up court system. It's a Commonwealth state, and they do a lot of funny shit. A lot of shit get overturned and shit, and they don't want to be executing motherfuckers as innocent and shit like that. Like that's probably has happened in Pennsylvania, but because of that, he's been on death row like 29, almost probably like 30 years and shit. I was like 18 when I seen him.
So what, they got like he in a separate block for death row, like we only could associate with death row inmates?
Yeah, he in a jail. It's only one Supermax. It might be two now, but the main Supermax prison in Pennsylvania is called Greene County, SCI Greene County. And he's on death row with Aaron Jones from the Junior Black Mafia. Like, they all locked up in their own world, their own area. Nobody see them niggas or nothing like that. Like, if you see them, it's probably because you feed them or something like that, or might work over there, but you don't see them at all. I think Cool C in the infirmary and shit. I had broke my finger lifting weights, broke my thumb and shit, and I had to go up to this infirmary a couple of nights in a row and shit. I had this black CO escort. So, you know, he was kind of complaining to me, you know, as I was walking, about how they was treating this particular inmate, you know, up in the infirmary and shit. And it wasn't until the next day he, you know, told us who he was and shit. Like, it was another famous inmate up there named John DuPont who had killed this wrestler named Schultz. And he wasn't cuffing up. He wasn't cuffed. Like, he came up there. I think they said he came with his attorneys. He didn't come handcuffed. You know what I'm saying? Like, they treated him like, you know, like a millionaire or a billionaire, whatever he was and shit. But Cool C, on the other hand, who was on death row, you know, he was always in chains and shit if he was transported. And that's the general practice, you know. Them niggas have to be, just like somebody, they're transporting somebody from the hole and shit, from the box. You got to be handcuffed and shackled and shit. But he just felt that it was a little bit excessive under the circumstances or whatever. How Cool C was looking though? He was looking like he was mad stressed. Big ass, tall nigga, tall, slinky nigga, big ass beard, bushy beard and shit, brown skin, big nose. He had a kufi on and shit, a lot of shackles and shit. Just an expressionless face and shit. You know, he acknowledged us and shit when he walked through and shit. You know, head nod and shit. Just when you see it, you like, damn, he really here and shit. He really here with the rest of us. You know what I mean? He's just going to death row.
Cool C was that dude in New York. I can imagine, like, how was his impact on Philly and PA when that Glamorous Life joint came out?
When that shit was going on, I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't get on here and act like I was a huge Cool C aesthetic fan. Like, them niggas was out when I was a kid and shit. But I knew out of the two, Cool C was a big star. I remember hearing that song, that record places. Like, you know, when you're hearing a rap record, then you're hearing a record that's kind of like pop. You might hear it a little bit anywhere and shit, in a skating ring. Like, this record is everywhere. Mm-hmm. That's what Glamorous Life was, one of them records and shit. You know what I'm saying? It was just a catchy ass record. And it just made him stand out or whatever, because what made Cool C stand out to me is that he was a rapper from Philly that was wearing, you know, a lot of truck jewelry, and you didn't see that a lot from, you know, Philly rappers back then. There was other Philly rappers around, but Cool C was coming through trucked up and shit like that. So, you know, it just made me notice him a little bit more.
That's why he appealed heavily to New York. He's
Could
like,
be that. He's fly guy and shit.
Yeah, man. But yeah, so was Steady B holding his own though in the spot?
Nah, Steady B was dead in the water, man. Steady B was Muslim. And that's the only thing that probably, you know, got him any decency. But after a while, that didn't even matter. You know what I'm saying? He come from a good like bloodline, like Steady B's people is like Lawrence Goodman is like a legend in Philadelphia in like music and shit. He had might have been the first hip hop record label in Philly called like Pop Art Records. And he had I think he had MC Shannon and Roxanne Shante early on. He was Pop Art, but that is Steady B's uncle. You know what I'm saying? And he's also the father of the youngsters. So the rap group, the youngsters, them is Steady B's cousins and shit. You know what I mean? Like they come from an entertainment bloodline. But he definitely got ridiculed. Like he didn't have no protection. He wasn't no big dude. You know what I mean? He's a little fat nigga and shit. I believe I've seen recent pictures of him. I believe when I encountered him, he was drastically trying to lose the weight because that's what would make people notice him. Like that's how you could spot him and shit. You know, he was a round looking nigga and shit. You know what I'm saying? But you know, you in jail, especially in Pennsylvania, everybody got a big ass beard and shit. You know, you let your beard grow, change your appearance and shit like that. You kind of come like, you know, just blend in, and that's what he seemed to be doing. But I seen niggas with my own eyes. They used to do the glamorous like song that, ooh, ooh, you got it. They used to do that to him all the time. Like, that's how you would notice him, because you would start hearing that, ooh, ooh. Like, that was, here come Cool, here come Steady B. Here comes Steady B. And they were saying, you got it, as in, you got life and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, they weren't kind to him at all and shit. Like, they didn't care about him being there forever. They was more so, you know, fuck you, you told on Cool C, and which goes further than that is that Cool C is a Muslim too, and you know, Philadelphia is very, very extreme with the Muslim shit. So, you know, he didn't just tell on his man, his co-defendant, he told on a Muslim brother, and that's how he's viewed in population. Straight up.
You said they had another co-defendant?
Yeah, a dude named Mark. I don't know Mark's relationship to like music and shit like that. I assume him to be one of the Hilltop Hustlers. That's who them niggas was outside of music and shit. The Hilltop Hustlers and shit. That's, you know, that's a street crew that was around during the JBM era and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? They was some West Philly, some fly money getting niggas and shit. So, you know, it was a story behind it. And I believe that they were the Hilltop Hustlers in the Lawrence Goodman era. Like Mr. Goodman, I believe him and his crew was the original Hilltop Hustlers, and they signed Cool C, and then he started to carry the banner to, you know, prominence. Yeah.
I wonder if Will Smith knew Cool C, if they was both from West Philly.
Yeah, hell yeah. Fuck yeah, definitely know each other. I'm pretty sure they probably was acquaintances and shit. I know at the time, Cool C appeared to have more of a street edge or whatever than the Fresh Prince and shit. You know what I mean? He was rapping. This is in the era when, you know, Fresh Prince and DJ Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince was official. You know what I mean? Like, they wasn't the popcorn shit that, you know, Will Smith ended up being, you know, like comedy and shit like that on the show. It wasn't like that. He was an accepted, dope hip-hop nigga from West Philly and shit.
Yeah, like, I be bumping that joint. A lot of people, I be telling my kids all the time, I be like, when Will Smith dropped joints like A Brand New Funk,
That's what I'm talking
that
about.
was just a straight. It wasn't no commercial. It wasn't no. That shit was just straight bars on a crazy beat. And that shit was the most hip hop record that I ever heard him make. That was just straight hip hop, no additives, no nothing. And he made all his shit was blazers. That was his lane.
Yeah.
That was his lane. But that brand new funk, that's on my playlist heavy.
Mm-hmm.
That
Girls
shit
Ain't
jump.
Nothing But Trouble. Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble, which the song Parents Just Don't Understand, that kind of was like a spinoff from his song Girls Ain't Nothing But Trouble shit.
Mm-hmm.
Word. Legendary shit. It was shocking though at first. You know, his name was Warren McGlone, Steady B. That's who I would see regularly walking across the property, or I would see him at Juma for sure. Shit, Juma, Talim classes, like he was hugging on to that Dean heavy. And I was getting into the Sunnah Dean at the time too. It was my first time being exposed to it. I was raised in the Nation of Islam, but the jail was so dominated by, you know, Arabic and, you know, this Sunni Dean and shit. Like we went to the masjid, we fasted with them. You know, I was around him. You know, but he tried his best to remain anonymous. Like, you know, he didn't have no friends. I'd never seen nobody talking with him, walking with him for an extended period of time. Somebody was in close proximity talking to Steady B. It was probably in the masjid and they was talking some Islam shit. But other than that, no. Taboo. He couldn't hide. Couldn't hide, yo.
And you said that was in the reception spot though, right?
Yeah. I was down there for about 6 months and shit. I probably did about 4 months with him. Because I was down there kind of long. You know, you normally get shipped out to your jail after that, probably about 60 days or something like that. I ended up being down there 6 months. I was going to go to boot camp, and I fucked my finger up lifting weights. And you know, they not gonna in Pennsylvania. They don't transfer you to another jail with no injury or some shit like that. Like they transfer motherfuckers with a clean bill of health, straight up. So, yeah, that's how I ended up going to the infirmary. I fucked my thumb up in the weight pile, and I was going up there, listening to this person with all these fucking chains and shackles on the other side of this partition. And then they made us, you know, when they was transporting him, taking him back to where he was going, they made us get in this little holding tank cell. You know, it had a door on it. He walked by, looked at us 2 days in a row. Sad. And it was really sad back then because we thought that they was going to actually kill him and shit. Like, we wouldn't have thought that he would still be around 30 years later. Not the rate that they was killing motherfuckers back then and shit. They don't really do that execution shit in a lot of states. But Pennsylvania, it's been a long time. He was over in death row, the death row section of Camp Hill Penitentiary, legendary penitentiary. It was a riot down there. He was in whatever section he was in. I think it was B block or some shit like that. He had to come down. He was coming down for like blood work or some shit. You know what I mean? In the same way that they be parading you niggas around with the mittens on and shit. In New York with all the mittens on, they had his ass just like that. He just didn't have no mittens on. I had on blues. We was all wearing blues. He had on a jumpsuit though. He had on like a tan or gold looking jumpsuit. When you in the reception in Pennsylvania, you always locked up. So you wake up in the morning, you put all of these request slips in to go places, library, medical, you know what I mean, just to get off the block. Like, even if ain't nothing wrong with you, like, man, I'm getting the fuck off this block this morning and shit. You know, that's how niggas make their moves, pass shit off and shit. So you might have seen him. I'm coming out the law library. I ain't got no case. I'm hanging out in the law library though, just to get over there for a couple hours. Niggas in there kicking it. See him walk through and shit. You know, whenever niggas like to go that bitch ass nigga, this is no bullshit. You ask any this niggas in my comments because I did this story. I did this story briefly on my channel a couple days ago. But this niggas in my comments that was there with us. They got the same state numbers as us. We all got DF numbers. My state number is DF 5973. And they all remember being down there with Steady B. Look like a little fat Rika nigga and shit. He ain't fat no more. I'm sure he lost all that weight and shit to blend in. You would notice it when he was fat for real and shit. True story, G. 18 or 19 and shit. When he got to the jail that he went to, Housedale, he had a, this is what I'm hearing, because niggas that I know is coming home from that jail and they telling me, you know, he be in the yard with his keyboard, he make beats, you know, he's still the rap nigga and shit, so he done got dug in where he at, but, you know, niggas don't fuck with him and shit, but the rap niggas might fuck with him type shit. He definitely got a keyboard, he make beats and shit, and, you know, he still be fucking with that rap shit. But he gonna be there. When you get life in Pennsylvania, that's till you die. Till you die. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That robbery shit in Philly, that's shit serious and shit, man. Like that's regular wreck. You know what I mean? That's regular wreck. Like they will do that. But the hustling is flyest nigga will put on that fucking ski mask, man. Philly. Yeah. Straight up.
I wonder, I gotta research that case. I wonder how much they caught in that bank robbery or tried to catch.
I don't know. I know that they had been already hitting licks though. That was well, you know, known and spoken about. That they was hitting licks. You know, I guess they was fucked up from rap music, rap money. They was popped from that shit for a minute. Like that money been gone. Whatever they had, whatever success they had in rap, that shit been dried up, man. But Cool C, man, wanted to live a glamorous life. That shit he was rapping about. You know what I mean? All of this designer shit, all of this shit that this materialism that people talking about today, that's prominent today. He was one of the first rappers to get on that shit. That champagne life and all of that. Yeah. Cool C.
Definitely. What part of Philly is 3 Times Dope from?
3 Times Dope, I believe I believe he's from North Philly. That's EST, greatest man alive. I met him before and shit. Legendary hip hoppers, man, from Philly and shit. He's probably EST, 3 Times Dope. They like amongst the kings in Philly, man. The top of the top, the tip of the top. Don't get no higher than that. I mean,
that track is bananas. Both of them, they had a few hits, but that first joint they dropped, that motherfucking EST, yeah, that shit's no. The Funky Dividends was about the chicks, right?
Yeah, it came out at the right time, man. It came out during the summer and shit, man. So that summer was lit.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that motherfucking EST, the usual one, the greatest man alive.
Yeah.
That shit is a banger. That shit is a banger.
He went on to, I believe, work with Beyonce. Might have wrote a big record for Beyonce. That's where EST ended up at. For records for people of that magnitude. Shout out to Philly, man. Got a rich music history, but the Cool C and Steady B story will always be mentioned first because it's shocking that A-list rappers, not one but two, will get in a situation like that. Like, that's crazy.
I remember when that shit hit the news, they had them niggas' faces plastered on the news. It's crazy.
They state numbers, like you could look Chris Rooney and Warren McGlone. That's them niggas' names. They state numbers gonna come up. Like I said, they gonna have DF numbers just like mine.
What year was that when they caught that shit? That case?
We was in a penitentiary in 97, so I'm gonna say they probably did that in probably 95 or 94.
Damn, I thought it was earlier than that they did that.
Definitely early 90s. Definitely early 90s. I don't know how long they was in the county jail, fighting that case or dealing with that case because, like I said, it was the biggest. It was one of the biggest, police killings in the history of the city and shit. So I don't know how long they went through the court process, but by the time they was in prison was 97.
The beef riblets touching, now we on something, John's busting. The neck is stupid, range is electrocuting, raised where the text was booming, gang spraying wet and stupid. I made it all now, I'ma lay it all out, the boss with clout, yeah.
Hey yo, if you need music, promo, or any type of promo, send me a DM at Real Saint Laz, you heard, or text this number right here, business only.